Hello everyone and welcome to a very nice game from, sorry about that, from round 6 of the 2019 Shamkir Chess tournament. It's the Gashimov Memorial. Magnus Carlsen is in the lead after 5 rounds. Yesterday was a rest day, they've been playing some football, they've been, having some activities, and now it's time to continue. As it usually is, after a rest day, either all games will be drawn or there will be fireworks all across the board. So let's see how it went. Here is a very nice game, Veselin Topalov versus Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, and thank you everyone for joining my my Reddit feed. I've created a subreddit yesterday. It's called Agadmator Official, and I've put a link into it in the description below if you want to check it out. Already more than 1,000 people have joined the subreddit, so thank you a lot, and thank you for asking so many questions. I believe over 500 of you have asked a question in my AMA, and I have answered most of them, even though a lot of them were repeated a few times, but I hope I didn't miss anyone's question. But yeah, that being said, let's check it out. It's a very long theoretical line, basically, where Mamedyarov is looking for chances in a line that was not played before. So let's see how it went. We have e4 by Topalov, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now bishop to b5. As usual, the Ruy Lopez, and now that you look at it, it's pretty much the same as in Capablanca's day and age, in 1914 or well, pretty much any tournament we've covered. They've played the Queen's Gambit declined, and they've played the Ruy Lopez, pretty much the same as they do today in 2019. So the old masters had it right, it would seem. We have a6, Morphy's defense, bishop to a4, knight f6. We have castles and bishop to e7. Not going for the knight captures on e4 line, same as Mr. Black didn't want to capture it against Capablanca. Rook to e1, and now b5, pushing the bishop back. Bishop b3. We have d6, and now, king to g1 here. How did my king get to g1? That's a bit strange. d6, and why is my king on g? Oh, sorry, yo, I just thought I thought I castled, and then for some reason I thought I didn't castle, and okay, I totally had a breakdown here. But okay, c3 by white and black castles here. We have h3, and now bishop to b7. This has all been played before, so nothing new here. d4, rook to e8, and here already we have a very interesting moment in the game where knight to g5 is played. And now already you can see that the f7 square is being threatened. How do you prevent it? Well, you have to bring a rook to f8. Now, here's the question. Was rook to e8 a mistake if allowing knight g5 means that you have to go back with rook to f8? Not really, because here Topalov goes back, knight to f3, and he says, you should play a different move, Mamedyarov. But Mamedyarov says, I'm not playing a different move, I'm gonna play rook e8 once again, and you're welcome to repeat moves. Now, I don't know if Mamedyarov is actually saying that he's happy with a draw on move 12 against Topalov with the black pieces, but I remember, I think it was last year in the Biel Chess Festival that Mamedyarov accepted a draw with the black pieces in move 8 or something like that. Yeah, pretty much everyone was very disappointed in that, especially since he's a 2800 player. He's not now, but he was in those days. So it's very odd. I don't know if he would accept a draw here, or maybe he was just testing Topalov if Topalov was interested in a draw, but Topalov isn't. He plays knight bd2, he doesn't repeat knight to g5. And okay, the game continues. We have bishop to f8, opening up the e-file for the rook. We have a3 by white. Now, if you go knight g5 again here after bishop to f8, black can just go rook to e7, so it's not a problem for black. Just to get that out there. a3, making room for the bishop on a2 and preparing b4. We have g6 by Mamedyarov, and now bishop to a2. Topalov prepares to push b4. We have bishop to g7, and now comes b4 as planned, expanding on the queen side. And here there are a couple of known moves here. a5 is a known move here for black, and there is one game, Fabiano Caruana versus Suat from 2007, that ended in a draw where queen to d7 was played by Suat. But here we have e captures on d4. It's a new move in this position, and it's as of move 16, Mamedyarov chooses a new position. And okay, c captures on d4, we have a5 now, and rook to b1, and this is where the fun starts. Mamedyarov captures, pawn captures on b4, we have d5 now, removing the defender of the b4 pawn, knight to e5, and now just knight captures. We have d captures on e5. There's an interesting line, rook captures on e5. Topalov mentioned it during the press conference after the game. But if rook captures, then after rook captures here, queen to e8, putting a lot of pressure against the e4 pawn. But then Topalov mentions that bishop to b2 would have been great, and after rook e7, queen to a1, and that black is in no time to capture anything, as if you capture the bishop on g7 hangs, and if you go knight h5, that this will just be better for white. But it seems that both Topalov and Mamedyarov missed bishop captures on d5. Which is a long forcing variation that ends in a lot of trades. After bishop captures on f6, bishop captures, queen captures, now you snatch up the bishop on a2, and now you have rook captures on b5, removing the defender of the rook on e7, queen captures, and now just queen captures on e7, and you have this position where white has a passed pawn on a5, but black is attacking it, preparing to capture. Also, the queen defends the c7 pawn, so black doesn't really have any problems here. But okay, instead of this rook captures, both of them agreed that d captures on e5 was the correct way to go. We have rook captures on b4 by black now, and now c6. Mamedyarov attacks Topalov's very strong center. D captures on c6, bishop captures, and now queen to f3, developing the queen. And also putting yet another defender closer to the e4 pawn. And here we have bishop to f8. You could simply develop a rook with rook to c8, but Mamedyarov has a different plan. Bishop to f8, piling up on the a3 pawn, forcing the rook to move. We have rook to b1, and now comes rook to a4, putting yet another attacker in front of the e4 pawn. And here, a very interesting position. If you play something like bishop to b2, just keep on developing, then black is going to go bishop to h6, shift the bishop over to here, and white's pieces are a little bit cramped. So here instead, Topalov goes about it completely different. He chooses a very active plan. He decides to give up the e4 pawn. He plays knight to f1 with the idea of remaneuvering the knight over to e3, and he wants to develop the bishop over to g5 instead of on b2. So okay, we have rook captures on e4. Mamedyarov accepts the challenge, and now rook to d1, just grabbing hold of this open d file, attacking the queen. We have queen to e7 now, getting out of the way, and now finally bishop to g5 with a double attack against the knight. So bishop to g7 defending, and only now knight to e3. Very brave play by Topalov, putting his queen in front of the bishop like this, not afraid of any nasty discoveries, but he calculates correctly. There are no nasty discoveries for the moment. So here Mamedyarov grabbed a pawn, and he decides to grab another one. Queen captures on a3, and there's nothing wrong with this. He's up 2 pawns now, and he does have a passed b pawn, so if he can just keep everything in check, he should be able to win this. And you don't gain anything by capturing on f6, because now the bishop on a2 is hanging. So this is Topalov's plan. Rook to a1 first, attacking the queen here. Well, not directly, but threatening bishop captures on f7 check, and then winning the queen. So what do you do here? The best idea is just to go back. Queen to e7, and then you go into this forcing line. Bishop captures, queen captures, and after bishop to d5, you are threatening some very nice ideas. After black captures, we have queen captures, you could go g captures, and now bishop captures on d5 would win the exchange, but it doesn't matter. For example, f captures on e4, bishop captures on e4, and here black definitely has compensation for the exchange. He has the bishop pair, and he still has a passed b pawn, which will be fairly easy to escort, as you do have a bishop pair slicing all the way across the board. So this was the correct way to go for black. Here Mamedyarov instead went to queen to c5. So what's the idea here? Here he's hoping for bishop captures on f6. It's a little trap Mamedyarov decided to go for. If bishop captures, rook f4, just put that rook in between the queen, and now you will win back the bishop. So nothing really happens. But here, after queen to c5, he missed one idea by Topalov. First, Topalov goes rook d to c1, forces the queen to move from c5. So where does the queen go? The queen doesn't move. Here, Mamedyarov decides to move the rook by playing rook to c4. Now opening up an attack towards Topalov's queen. Topalov moves the queen, we have queen to d1, and now the only way for black to continue this is by playing e4. This is the best idea. The pawn here is very strong, and although you will lose the exchange, you will win back the bishop on g5. So this line will go something like bishop captures, pawn captures here. Now you have a very nice passed pawn, and now white is not in time to remove the passed pawn because you would lose the g5 pawn. And okay, you do win the c6 bishop, but then knight moves to h5. You open up the dark square bishop. You still have some compensation going on. But here, after queen to d1, Mamedyarov did not play e4. He played knight to e4, and now it simply doesn't work. Here, I would ask you to pause the video, but there's really no need. It's a pretty straightforward idea. Since the pawn is not on a4, there is no attack from the queen towards the bishop. So here Mamedyarov just played bishop captures on c4. He grabbed the piece. A rook. We have pawn captures, and here rook captures on c4 was played. And it was in this position that Shakhriyar Mamedyarov decided to resign the game. Why did he resign? Well, he's just down a full exchange, and he doesn't really have any good compensation for it. So there's really no point in continuing, and the passed pawn was basically his only hope of having something to show for the exchange. But here, without the passed pawn, there's really no point in playing this. After this very nice rook captures on c4 on move 33, a seemingly easy victory for Topalov, but what I really enjoy here, it's this moment where Topalov played after rook to a4. He didn't just continue developing. If you look at this position, you really don't have a good move. If you think about that, you constantly have to keep an eye on the e4 pawn. But here, once again, the hardest move to find is with the knight back. Topalov plays it knight to f1, gives up the e4 pawn, which, not something everyone would do, and he seemingly offers Mamedyarov chances for Mamedyarov himself to go for a win. And Mamedyarov did so, and in the end it was Topalov who won the game. It was just a very impressive pawn sacrifice, and then he just gave up another pawn here after queen captures on a3, rook a1, and then here just, well, bishop captures. It's just unimaginable that even a player of Mamedyarov's caliber is not how to say it, not craziness proof, because when Topalov plays, he will just make things crazy, and it's easy to get lost in it, but which is very impressive for achieving something against a player like Mamedyarov. A wonderful game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Jeff Graves, FLCB Chess Club, Kasia Ingrishesh, Joshua Grindrod, and Bas Berger for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon with another game from the Gashimov Memorial, and we will then show the standings and check up on what's what. Thank you all, and I will see you soon. Have an excellent rest of your day.